This is the sky we have this morning. You can hear the thunder. It started peeling about 10 minutes ago, or a little less maybe. So I was wondering if I stay here under this little balcony. To have a different one, but especially to be protected from the rain. You could potentially eventually see well, there's some nice light coming in there now. It's a little bit different angle as well. If we were out closer, we could be more on top, but that's we're here, so we're here. We're here, so we're here. So we accept being here. Good thing was that yesterday they started pruning off some of the lower branches here. So it's we have a little bit more visibility, which is an advantage from this standpoint. I have a question for you guys. What's your narrative about God and about the world? What do you tell your children and your grandchildren? And is your narrative also in sync with your life? Is your life in sync with your narrative? There was lightning now. I don't know if you get to see lightning on the screen. But it was just that the camera was facing where I saw lightning with my eyes. It's raining nice and hard there now in the corner of Mount Arbel, so it'll be coming here in a moment. And the wind is bringing it in. There was more lightning. So we'll have more thunder in a second. Wow, look at the gusts of wind and rain, the way it's blowing. So it's not a bad idea to be up here. Wow, look at this. It's even blowing in here, so I just pulled up my hood over my face, over my head. Wow, look at this. Wow, I was just blown away by the wind. It was about 20 yards behind us, over on the side of the house over here. Imagine a storm coming that quickly on the lake. We're in the middle of the storm, people, at the sea. We should have this 2 days ago for Noah's flood. More lightning. So that means more thunder. Oh, it's all wet here already. The little balcony was insufficient. So what's your narrative? And what impressing me, a little thought that came about the whole first chapters of Genesis, and we're in a very special moment today when God reiterates how sacred human life is and how we should not take human life. We could not build our business on human lives. We could not take human life to build up our family, our property, our possessions, to settle scores, enmities. It's very, very strong. One thing that fascinates me about this whole thing was God continues loving people no matter the disaster we have created. His love is not conditional to our photogenic smiles. His love is not conditioned to the candy we can give a child, or a nice meal, or even fair treatment. His love is radical for the human being. And that's a major difference from the ancient creation myths and the ancient flood myth. If you check out the notes today for the reading that are in the online Bible from where the readings are taken, by just clicking on the link, let's say Genesis, I think it's chapter 9, and you click on the on that link, it will take you to a very interesting note explaining how different the pagan conclusion of the flood was. Now, think about it. You are a believer in a world that has a very different culture. That was their situation. It has very different narratives about creation. It has very different narratives about the gods. And the gods limit the human being after they... Something went wrong here. There we go. I just had a phone looking down and it turned around, flipped around. So the gods punished the human beings and restricted them and limited them. But in the Genesis account, God doesn't take away human freedom. In fact, he recognizes human freedom by entering into a covenant with mankind after the flood. This is a very different idea of who God is. This God takes human freedom seriously, takes my freedom seriously. And it's going to be a progressive path. And the biblical God is the one who takes us out of centuries of slavery, out of decades of exile. And that's still a very small population compared to the peoples all in the whole region. And their children are growing up in that population. I think especially of the community in Alexandria, the Jewish community that wrote the Septuagint, translated the Bible into Greek, and wrote many works to help the youth, including the Book of Wisdom, I think, the Ecclesiastes, to bring many, to allow the youth to have a dialogue with the local culture that was dominant from their perspective of faith. And so the people who told the story of Exodus from slavery, of return from exile. This people couldn't repeat as their cultural understanding the story of the flood, like the pagans told it. They couldn't repeat the story of creation like the pagans told it. They had discovered there's one true God. And all those ancient stories had to get rewritten from the perspective of the experience of God's love and salvation. And so we have this marvelous reworking of all that pagan lore from a perspective of redemption. And that's really the big question. Is our narrative, does it have a perspective of redemption? Or is it a perspective of vengeance, a perspective of anger or depression or frustration, sadness, negativity? Or is it a perspective of hope, of faith, of hope and love? A perspective of faith that God is present with us, Emmanuel, always with us in all of our time, no matter what's happening, no matter if the child is in prison or addicted to drugs or marriage is in the rocks, it's very difficult. Do I still have a perspective of faith? The economy's going sour, if the war is breaking out, if there's a cancer around the corner, a bereavement around the corner. Is my life a perspective of faith, a perspective of hope, and a perspective of love? A perspective of hope is that I trust in God's redemption. And the perspective of love is that I know that God loves us infinitely and that I am a recipient of that love. He loves me. And so my perspective of faith and hope arouses my love that I experience God loves me, and so I want others' experience of me to be that they feel loved. No matter how broken they are, how weak they are, they feel loved, genuinely loved. Not condescended with their weaknesses, but patient, resourceful, creative, joyful approaches in the midst of the horrors of consequences of human misbehavior, of human tragedy. I find that fascinating. From cover to cover, Genesis to the book of Revelation, these scriptures are just completely charged with God's love, with the grandeur of his love. And then that's the challenge for me and for you, to allow our lives to be charged with God's love. Fully charged, like your battery is fully charged. To be loaded with God's love, to be overflowing with God's love. Like this pipe down here, I even hear it. I don't know if we can get it on camera here. This is a very big pipe, and because of all that flood water right now, it's delivering it into the lake. You see there, it's gushing out. And God's love has been gushing out where men have let human blood gush. In the thousands and the millions. Millions were killed in World War I. Millions, I think 70 million people killed. Imagine the tears in God's heart watching that human tragedy. Political decisions, political conflicts. In the Second World War, millions, tens of millions of people, their blood was shed. And God didn't give up on humanity. And we see all these conflicts around the world, the east of Europe, in Africa, here in the Middle East. Some countries in Asia are having a very hard time. And sometimes we're put to the test in our own lives, and there we cannot give free leash to our anger, to our revenge, to our hatreds. And we have the rainbow in the sky. this rainbow of life, this rainbow of delight. Maybe a rainbow would come now, wouldn't that be nice? But if it doesn't come, you can draw it up in your heart, in your memory. I will set a bow in the sky. And then that's our narrative. The question in the gospel is a kind of a similar question. It's, what narrative do you have about me? That's Jesus' question. Those of us who are Christians can answer this question. And if you're not Christian, you can also answer the question, because, and that's not pushing you to believe in Jesus, it's simply, who is this guy in history 2,000 years ago? What's his message? Do I need to scoff? Do I need to reject categorically? Where do I stand? Who is Jesus? Some say he's a prophet, some say he's Elijah, and so forth. They have all their answers. But at the end of the day, we have the Psalm here, 102. From heaven the Lord looks down on the earth. And he looks down with love. Maybe teary-eyed, sad over our mutual harshness, but never compromising his love for us. People, God bless you. See you later, alligators. A special sunrise stroll and chat today.